Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Leverage Lunch and Learn Events to Reach Out to and Work with Architects. I'm Garrett Bruce, Chair of the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group for the Electronic Security Association. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get started. All callers will be muted for the duration of the webinar, so please make sure that you use the question or the chat log to submit questions. We will address all the questions at the end of the webinar. Additionally, a recording of the webinar and a copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be available in the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group Resource Library on esaweb.org. Today's topic, How to Leverage Lunch and Learn Events to Reach Out to and Work with Architects, is presented by Roy Thurston of Honeywell and Lisa Matthews, Vice Chair of the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group and Marketing and Communications Coordinator for Safety Technologies. Roy has over 35 years of security systems experience. His career spans the industry from installer to service manager to sales and marketing. His qualifications include product management, design communication, security and fire alarm systems for banks, military, warehouses, retail establishments, restaurants, and office buildings. And he's also a registered provider of AIA and CES classes. Lisa Matthews is an Infocom Certified Technology Specialist, a Certified Social Media Associate, and a CEDIA Registered Outreach Instructor, conducting educational courses for industry partners. Safety Technologies recently received 2 Best Practice Awards from the ESA and was named Installer of the Year at this year's SAMI Awards. And Audio Video Interiors has been recognized at the CE Pro 100 Summit for their innovative social media programs. Lisa has an extensive background in sales, marketing, technology, and AV design. So without further ado, at this point, I'll turn it over to Roy Thurston.
Good afternoon. This is Roy Thurston, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about dealing with architects. And today we'll cover the benefits of reaching architects, the role architects play, and how to gain and how you can gain business from them, integrators' contribution, and why lunch and learns, and targeting firms, preparation of material, the presentation, and effective follow-up. And follow-up is very important. In the world of architects, there's a couple things that should be noted. If you're looking at a sales lead time, when you meet someone until you actually close a sale, in residential, sometimes that's days and weeks. In commercial, it could be days, weeks, months. In the architectural world, it's measured in years. And projects that architects handle, 99% of them in the fire alarm are required because they need it for a building occupancy certificate. But only about 15% to 30% have security on a project. And that's usually because the customer says he wants it, the insurance company requires it, or there's maybe some local requirement of some sort. So the fire alarms have basically a bid market arrangement where security is in there because somebody wants it or it's part of the business plan or something like that, which makes it completely different in a lot of applications. And most of the architects in the past have just handed those off to somebody to get them out of their way because they're not big enough to deal with, and they have a lot of other responsibilities. Because most architects basically are project managers. They start out as system designers, become project managers, and believe it or not, at the end, they become arbitrators because that's what they have to do to get things back under control so the project can be completed on time, under or at budget. And a lot of things happen, as you probably had experience on the construction site, where something got installed wrong, or the wrong floor, or wrong dimension, or something like that. And so they tend to do a lot of change orders and things like that. So the less they can get off their plate, the happier they are about a building project. And so what you want to do is take advantage of that opportunity and figure out how to help them out. And architects also gain most of their business from referrals, which is a lot like the alarm industry in that respect. They spend a lot of time doing RFPs, and currently it's a lot stronger in the remodeling business than it is in new projects, because a lot of new projects are on hold because of the economy. And so they're redoing a lot of places that already have partial systems or add-ons or things like that. And the average architect company has no average, because they're basically, it could be a one-man company, it could be a national, multi-office, international size company as well. Usually there's one or two senior designers that actually do the design and oversee the design. Everybody else actually plays into that project, be it a draftsman or a spec writer. Some of them have EMPs, and if you're not familiar with EMP, that stands for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing staff, which means they do a full design rather than subbing out those particular items. And the larger firms are downtown. For what reason, I'm not real sure. But you'll find most of them clustered around the center part of most cities. But they're really project managers, and when you're dealing with architects, you don't have to go into great detail, because they're really interested in the project, not a lot of specifics about any particular thing, unless there's an issue that needs to be settled. There's an old saying that it's kind of like the Missouri River, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. So depth is not what they're looking for. A solution to an issue is what they're looking for. And that's where you come in, because what they need to do is be kept up on technology to help their clients understand what's going on and how to handle new situations. And they need a point of reference. They need somebody to call if they have a question. And that's extremely helpful to them, particularly those who don't have their own electrical, mechanical, and plumbing engineers, because they usually charge them for those sessions. And we developed the Honeywell Partners in Design program basically to get in the door, because it's difficult to get into architects, particularly now, as most of them have cut their staff and they're down to bare bones. And so it's a good way to make contact with them. And the best way we found to do that is with a lunch and learn, because they don't lose the hours of building time. They can have the meeting while they're having lunch. And they also need certificates to maintain their membership from the AIA. Excuse me, and those are 18 hours per year. 43 states also have the same requirements. And the average architect operates in 4 or 5 states, so it's not an if, it's a have to. They need 18 hours of standard credits. Health, safety, and welfare is 12 hours, and out of those 18, and also sustainable design. Now, sustainable design, which I have trouble saying, is basically green, meaning something to make the building last longer, recycled equipment, or keeping costs down and things like that. And so we also do something a little unique. We do a door prize, and we do a door prize for a couple of reasons. One is it adds a flavor to the program that's not normally given, and at the same time we trade that raffle for the door prize for a business card, because if you give someone a sign-in sheet to fill out the important information of their name, their company, their AIA number will be plain. Everything else will be almost impossible to decode. If you have a business card, you get full information from the customer to do that. So that works out very well. Plus, it adds a little excitement at the end of the presentation. Selecting a target is very important, because you don't want to waste time talking to the wrong people. And we have several sources that we look to for that. One is Hoover's, which is an updated version of D&D, and also Construction Point, which is something like a Dodge report, although we find a lot of duplication, so we probably will drop Construction Point pretty soon. Also, you can always go to the AIA website, which is very handy, because you can just do a zip code search with a certain radius, and it'll pull in all the members at that point in time there for your particular location. There's also a lot of communities published, the 20 largest banks, the 20 largest contractors, the 20 largest this, that, and the other. And in those cases, they have the largest architects, which is very handy. Also, you may have some contacts that you know. There's also the internet and the phone book, of course. But it's important to filter out who you're going to talk to, because these days a lot of guys have closed up and moved on. So you may take a list somewhere, and if you just take that list and go from place to place to place, you'll find a lot of people that are not there, closed up, or whatever. So check the websites before you go anywhere. That's not an absolute, but what it does is it tells you the ones who seem to be marketing. It also gives you an idea of what their business is, so you know much more about them before you actually make the introduction. And also, even if they have a nice website, call them on the phone to verify that they're still there and have not moved and this, that, and the other, and that actually gets you a pretty good list. And trying to change screens here. Help me, Lisa. I'm not changing the screen.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. This is an interesting slide for one reason. I've been in sales for quite a while, and I'm still not in love with cold calls except calling them architects, because everybody knows if you're in sales and marketing, cold calling is you know what you do when you can't find anything else to do. But at any rate, this is an excellent method for meeting them, because first of all, they understand why you're there. You have the benefits of bringing them not only lunch, but the credit they're looking for to stay in business, and at the same time a door prize that's just a bonus on top of that. And walking in on them, asking for the person who handles their lunch and learns is fairly easy, and most of the time well received, and not something you have to explain so much about why you're there. And just ask for the lunch and learn person. It's very easy to do, and it's very productive. Also, as you leave, make notes, because you'll need to know later for follow-up, just in case you weren't able to meet the lunch and learn person, or they weren't there, or whoever was on the desk that day didn't know who to talk to or contact or whatever. So keep up with that, because it'll come in handy later. Because I always send up a follow-up email to each person we make contact with, regardless. And it's always good to have some connection with the meeting in the email. But I'd have had people who say, you know, gee, cold calling, and after several years of this, in this round and in the previous life, some other working with architects, this is the most efficient way to do it. It's direct, it's immediate, you know exactly where you are, and all the guesswork is out of it. So it's very productive. But to do the cold calling, you have to be ready to go, and one of those is a list. And I personally use, and I mean personally because Honeywell doesn't provide this program, use Microsoft Streets and Trips, or Trips and Streets, whatever it is. You can pick it up at you know, any office supply place just about. It has a very simple system for taking a spreadsheet and sticking it into their program and plotting it on the map, just as you see here. And this is an actual sample of architects that popped up in Seattle from a spreadsheet that I dumped into the program. And from there, you can determine how to go to get the most calls in the least amount of time and effort. Is very handy for that. And you know how to save shortcuts, where to parking, and all that kind of stuff. It's very handy. As far as materials, in the presentation or in the cold call meeting, I have a Honeywell leave behind which talks about the program, the descriptions of the class, and I use an AIA form for that, because it's a one-page document developed by them, the AIA, and it tells them everything they need to know where they need to decide if they want to use a class or not. And a number of times what will happen is they'll say, well, we're, you know, A, worse that, we're not interested. The second thing is we'll send this around, and if we get enough response, we'll invite you in. That's positive. Also, they might say, you know, they want to know the credits right away. Oh, it's got credits? Okay, we'll schedule something. And I always take a date, even if I know I can't make it, because it's always easier to change the date or get somebody else to pull the class. But the idea is to give them the information they need right in front of them. Also, I generally do this along with our customers because it's actually just more productive. And I ask them to have a little rundown on their company, marketing material, what you do, how you do it, customer references, and promote yourself as a valuable resource. That's we hand out on a cold call, and so they have the information whether they're there or not. In the class itself, it actually starts out with a short introduction, and we're required to do at least 50 minutes of instructions, at least 10 minutes in the hour for a little Honeywell commercial and the door prize. And we always have a greeter, which is basically our customer, to establish contact with everybody and to manage the door prize. And we provide handouts for the class, and I'll cover those in the next slide. But the reason that the greeter needs to be there the whole time, before and after, is because it helps cement a relationship, and that's what this is really all about, is getting in contact, starting a business relationship that would be hopefully mutually beneficial for years. In the class itself, we always hand out a class evaluation form and ask them to fill it out. We have a copy of the class PowerPoint, little Honeywell brochure, whatever literature is available at the time, or our newest product. We also have a jump drive, which has all the information as far as specifications of every single Honeywell product, 50 ways to contact Honeywell, and also to get information off the web, because sometimes when you're looking for a particular product on a big website, it gets to be difficult, and this jump drive makes a big difference. And at the same time, the jump drive can be used on them because we divide it into actually two drives. One has Honeywell information on it, and the other has space for them. They can shuffle files around and so forth. And then we provide a little Honeywell notebook, which for some reason everybody just really likes it. And I'm often asked for any leftovers to be left behind so they can make points with their friends and relatives. And the key to this whole thing is follow-up. And let me say this again. The key to this whole thing is follow-up. And just if you didn't get it, listen closely this time. Please pay attention to follow-up, because that's really where it's at. Now, after the class, I photocopy all the business cards and email them to our customer, and also to Honeywell Marketing, because we start sending them an email monthly about something new or something different, whatever. We mail a certificate to the greeter so that the class certificate, so that they can deliver them and establish a little more contact. We also send each attendee a coffee cup, which is mailed to the greeter. And that also gives you a chance to respond to any unanswered questions that may have been asked during the class, although we don't have a lot of questions, oddly enough, at the end of the class. But anything to help you get back in the door is really where it's at with this program. And let me say it one more time, just in case. Success depends upon your follow-up. Anytime you get a chance to visit there, I've heard story after story after story from customers who regularly stop off and drop off donuts. My personal favorite is Krispy Kreme, by the way. Anytime you can call them, anytime you can offer information, or you hear about anything that's going on they might be interested in, it's well important to stay in with them, the architects themselves. And I'd like to close out basically this portion by saying a couple of things. One is that if you didn't pick up on it early on, this is not necessarily about specifications. This is about making contact with an architect who has basically a tremendous influence center that they can offer to assist you growing your business. It's not so much about driving specifications, which will come later, but it's making contact and catching those jobs that don't get specified. They're just there waiting for somebody to take, or get a hold of, rather than waiting until the part of the construction cycle where the general contractor sends out a bid list of something already decided. You have a tremendous amount of power to influence the system that will be installed. Take it off the market before it hits the market, and so forth. That's really the key about this, and so that's really a critical point. If I could, let me take just another second, because I think this is tremendously important for the industry. And as you noticed by Garrett's introduction, I've been in the industry quite a while. When I came into the industry, most alarm reporting was done on a leased phone line for $10 or $15 a month. And today that's changed twice. We went from that to telephone dialers. Now we're going to networking and wireless and wired networking. And the fire marshals just don't receive enough training to keep up with it. There's more questions than answers. They don't really understand the technology, either wired or wireless. And we also have a program at Honeywell that will help you work with architects and work through those issues that actually dovetails into one of the classes that we present on monitoring burglar and fire alarms without phone lines, which is a technology issue that everybody deals with at this point in time that has a building that has to be monitored by fire. And I believe, if I'm not incorrect, I can turn it back over to Lisa at this point in time.
You got it. Roy, thank you so very much for taking time out and presenting for us today. Roy has, I've been working with him now for, I guess, a couple of years. I think you first pulled me in as a guest when you had an opportunity to work with one of the engineering firms that you had a relationship with. So Roy kind of pulled us in and got us introduced in that respect, and we took the ball and ran with it and have done a few with him since then. He does a fantastic job presenting. He really relates to the audience. You're just awesome, Roy. Thank you so much. We implemented the Lunch and Learn program into our marketing mix 3 years ago. And in our first year, we launched 150 certificates. In today's presentation, I'll share what we've learned and how we're conducting the program. I hope you can apply some of these elements and adapt them into a successful program for your organization. First off is why, and I think Roy did a fantastic job in explaining the program as an overview and how it's implemented, but from an integrator's perspective, first off, there's a minimal cost involved. If the manufacturer is putting this on, that's fantastic. Or from your perspective, it's the cost of a box lunch, and you've got an hour's face time with these specifiers. It's minimal time spent by your staff and little to no cost to promote the event. The results that you get, architects and engineers see the integrator as a valuable resource and partner and learn the importance of bringing the integrator in early on the project. The relationship is key. The integrator is seen as the expert, the go-to guy. You create a relationship as a partner in business, not just a security company trying to come in and sell them, a product. And as Roy also mentioned in that relationship building, it's not maybe the sale today. They might already have some projects in the work, but gradually you keep these people engaged, you build that relationship, and they learn to trust you, to go to you with their questions, and you will get pulled in on their projects. It does take a little bit of time to really get that foothold. Some happen faster than others, but it's a great long-term program to get involved with. And it's a foot in the door. Offering a class, as he mentioned, is an easy cold call. It's an easy way to hook them. If you're at a networking event, they want to keep your card. They'll remember it when you've got something so valuable to offer to them. To enhance your opportunity, your manufacturer's trainer will take care of most of the details, but to make the most out of it, it's very helpful, I think, to know your audience and to do some homework. For instance, what projects are the firm currently working on, and what are their specialties? It's really helpful to know if they work on a specific vertical. I just got called in and we did something for a firm that's strictly designed for healthcare facilities. So obviously if I go in talking about something completely off the wall, it's not going to resonate. So we did some homework. We had some things ready to present on healthcare specific topics. You want to know who's on their staff, who the principals are. I did a lunch and learn once. I had about 24 people in the room, and later found out that 3 of the principals were in the room. Maybe it's better that I didn't know that they were there, but shame on me. I really should have known. It's also helpful to know if on their staff, if there is an engineer that's dedicated to fire. You're going to want to zoom in on him. At the beginning of the presentation, prior to introducing your speaker, ask for brief self-introductions. This will allow you to target your presentation. By knowing a little bit about the participants, you can steer the conversation and really get them engaged. It's also a great icebreaker. It sets the tone for some good Q&A later. And we once had one that we got into the conversation, started talking about projects, talking about this, that, and the other. They ran off, and they actually went and got plans, brought them back before we ever even started the presentation. It was awesome. So anyway, it can really work if you just kind of get that conversation rolling. You can also ask them what roadblocks or problems they encounter. That's a great way to kickstart some Q&A later. You just say that, okay, that's great, we're going to address that in the Q&A section, and then you kind of got that ball rolling again afterwards for some good conversation. And if there's some snickering as they're looking at each other, you know what they're thinking, you can actually ask them what experiences they've had in the past with integrators. They'll tell you some funny stories, and again, it's just an opportunity to help you overcome why it would be great to work with you. Another part of my homework is acquiring some white papers, being prepared to discuss trends in the industry, for instance, access control in healthcare applications. You know, what are some of the latest things going on there? Create an introductory loop to promote your business. Once the presentation begins, it must be unbiased, but you can use the gathering time, while they're getting their lunch and chatting, they're getting settled in. You can actually be rolling a promotional video or a PowerPoint at that time. You can use this during your introductions to highlight projects that may exemplify some of the content that you're going to be presenting later. Roy mentioned a lot of leave-behinds, which are excellent tools. So you can compile a folder for each attendee with some of that pertinent literature, your brochure, that all-important business card, a logoed pen, whatever you've got so they can, jot some notes down with. But one thing to keep in mind, don't overload it. I used to try to leave behind a nice big binder with everything that we do, and they will actually often refuse those. They've gone very green. They're serious about it. So, leave that pertinent literature and maybe create a list of helpful links, things, that might have to do with codes or OSHA or, whatever, again, is on topic. But those links that they can go download white papers, maybe even to your website, which would be excellent to have them go there and download it for themselves. They really seem to appreciate that. Another thing is that I had responded to some of the critiques. When you do this form that he talked about, they fill out a little evaluation form at the end. Read those over and take that with you. I had been criticized for maybe not having enough pictures or hands-on samples. So one thing that they absolutely love, if you can show them project pictures, if you can point out what it is that you're talking about, pass around something. It could be the simplest thing. It can be, a touch panel, and they can see how the back of that looks, or something that seems silly to us. It's awesome for them to be able to get their hands on this. And best yet, if you have got an app and can pass around an iPad, you are God. They love that kind of thing. So who can present these courses? In order to provide an AIA-approved continuing education unit, both the course and the instructor himself or herself must be approved. This is a costly process, so it's a great advantage to enlist your manufacturer in this. AV associations have developed some different ways that we can go about getting this accreditation, like through Infocom. I'm able to do that. So maybe that's something that our SMP group needs to look at as an initiative for the Security Association. But okay, that's the next thing. Aside from CEU courses, you can offer pertinent, timely courses that you have created in-house, particularly if you're going to be presenting to someone that's not an AIA group. If you're going to do this, that's great, but just be clear that it is not a CEU course, because oftentimes they just automatically assume that it is. So if you've got something great, you want to put together a presentation, by all means do it, get out there, but just make sure that they're clear what it is. You can register at AIA.org and create a profile and join their presenters community. And that is just a terrific way to get yourself out there, because oftentimes, perhaps an intern has been tasked with finding a presentation, because as Roy had mentioned, they need 18 hours a year, which is more than one per month. So they're often looking for these kind of classes. So you can list yourself as a presenter, and sorry, I'm looking over some notes to see what else I had here. In getting back to talking about putting the courses together, we actually had a NICET certified engineer who put together a program with one of our salesmen, and they went out and presented that, and they really got a lot of traction out of it. They just simply put together some slides, took a current topic and so forth, and really made some good leads with that. Who should attend? I like to put my best foot forward at all times. So I want to be able to answer all of those questions. Again, your manufacturer, he can certainly get up there, do the presentation, field all the questions, but I do like to be able to introduce staff, and after that manufacturer's representative is gone, I want the staff to be clear on who the go-to people are. So we introduce our salesperson as their point of contact, and that makes them very comfortable, because if you're going to introduce several people in the room, they just need to know who definitely to zoom in on. So that salesman is introduced as the point of contact and someone knowledgeable about the product and processes. I also like to take along an engineer to field a lot of those questions. The other thing, you'll notice that people will just naturally gravitate towards certain people at the end of a presentation. This person's going to zoom in on the engineer, this person's going to zoom in on the manufacturer, and so forth. So I just kind of leave that door wide open and give them the opportunity to appeal to all those different personalities. And while you're taking some questions at the end, it's also great if you can kind of direct some of those questions maybe about permitting or something within your processes that doesn't necessarily fall into the realm of the manufacturer, or something product specific that you can field about how your integration firm would handle that situation. Some of the details. Where will the course be held? If it's going to be at their firm, it's nice to just find out what your surroundings are going to be like and make sure that you've got the equipment that's needed. So just ask about, what room's going to be used. Is there a projector and a screen? Or some of them actually have LCDs that are set up and you just take in a little thumb drive, but you just kind of need to know this ahead of time. It's also a good idea for a very minimal investment. Nobody's expecting anything fancy, but take a portable projector in and a little pop-up screen just to have it as a backup. Never really hurts to have something like that available just in case. I've run into some situations where I was either like in a tiny room and maybe we wanted to move outside of what they called their conference room into a larger area that didn't have a projection system. So it was just great that I was able to kind of make that real quick adjustment. And the all-important, who is arranging for the catering? Sometimes the manufacturer works directly with the firm. Others would appreciate the integrator setting this up and providing a credit card and making the arrangements. As Roy also had stated, make that training coordinator or receptionist feel special. That is definitely your go-to person, and any good salesperson knows how important that person is. But I just always very casually make sure that he or she includes themselves in that head count, provide lunch for them. That's a very influential person. Ask if there's any special diet considerations, if you have any vegetarians or whatever that you need to consider. I think it's just, out of courtesy, and you want to make sure that everyone's, got what they want. And I always add just one extra salad or a veggie sub because some people just don't speak up. But anyway, you can also find out if they have a favorite place that they like to order from. Otherwise, I have learned Panera and Einstein's are wonderful. They do a fantastic box lunch, very affordable, and they will deliver if you want them to. So that makes it handy. You can also, from a marketing perspective, consider partnering with a local restaurant or caterer who may want to help provide lunch just for some PR or give you a nice discount or whatever. The other thing, too, I've kind of let the caterers know who the luncheon is for, and if it's a firm that they've been, trying to get in with or whatever. Last time I did Einstein's, they gave me passes for everyone to come back and have a free sandwich. How nice is that to be able to give to everyone in your class, right? Other thing is, if lunch is not a good time or if the event is not held at the firm, you can consider sponsoring a breakfast somewhere else, or the ever popular drink and think instead of a lunch and learn. It could be a cocktail hour, who cares? Whatever fits into their schedule and, wherever you can make those arrangements. Okay, so great. Once you've got it set, you can promote it. If your presentation is open, that is, for participation. So in other words, if it's not at a specific firm, if you're going to be presenting perhaps at the AIA downtown or something like that, and you want to, actually help to get your attendance up, get the word out. This is an opportunity to advertise amongst these people, but it's not like advertising because you've actually got something very special that they need. So they really appreciate hearing about these opportunities. One great way to do that is to join your local AIA association. And if you're going to do that, take full advantage of it and participate. Join committees, attend their networking functions, and support their functions. I had joined their design awards committee and sat alongside of the guy who actually became the executive director for AIA for the next year, the president. And finally, one night at a networking event, he turned to me and says, "You're the person I need to go to for this." And I'm like, yes. So it takes a little while for some of those relationships to build, but they do learn who you are. So be there. And of course, always talk about lunch and learn opportunities. Find out, too, if their local chapter hosts them, because they are often right in the heart of downtown, and they will often draw over, at least mine, about an average of 24 participants every time I host an event down there, and it's really easy. They do like all the legwork for you. So you can also consider adding a page to your website and promoting that you support your industry partners. This will show up when the firms are searching for courses online. You can also create a blog and post it, put it on your LinkedIn discussions and all that kind of stuff. As I mentioned, the interns are often the ones who are going to be, Googling and trying to find some of these opportunities. So make sure that they can find you. Make sure that your information is out there. You can also send a press release, and if you create a press release, be sure to send a copy of it to your local AIA chapter so that they can easily copy that and just paste it right into their newsletter. It puts you in charge of the verbiage. It makes it easy for them to take care of, so it gets done. To continue promotion, you can create an event listing actually in LinkedIn, and this is just one that I had done for a Business Technologies Expo a little while back. As they sign up for the event so that you can calculate your registrations and everything very easily, it will actually post onto their updates and promote to their connections too. So it's kind of a great win-win there. Promote the link provided on other social media sites and have your sales staff paste that link onto their personal email invitations. So what you're going to want to have them do is up here on the right where it says share this event, not only click like the LinkedIn emblem and the Facebook emblem, actually copy this URL. And when you go to post it, paste that in the posting as well. If anybody wants to contact me later, I'll kind of help walk you through that. But you'll notice when you do a LinkedIn post, only those first couple lines of information really show up, and it's not always easy to follow where that link is unless you actually provide that URL again for somebody. Of course, make it social. I'm a social media queen here, so in addition to posting the thing everywhere that I'm going to be, hosting one of these events, I also monitor on something called, it's the actual national AIA site. It's a architectural knowledge net is what it's called. And there is a group in there, for instance, called TAP. It's a Technology and Architectural Practice. I always kind of monitor some of their discussions going on in there, see if ever we can jump in and assist them with anything there. You'll also, if you're on LinkedIn, want to look for your individual AIA's chapter. Often they will have their own discussion group. So join their discussion group, and by all means, go ahead and take the reins there and get involved in some of their conversations. At the end of the Lunch and Learn, I like to make sure that I respect their time and get them back to their office on time. But at the same time, we like to offer that, I'm in no hurry, so, please, if you've got any questions, we'll be here, we'll be available should anybody have any project-related questions. And as I mentioned before, they actually do go and grab the set of plans and bring it, and that is, to me, that's the all-important thing, is to just get started on that project. But don't just leave it at that. Make sure you've got a call to action, your invitation to an upcoming event perhaps. You can direct them to your website to download some white papers, anything like that to try to keep them engaged. I know that Roy's already talked to you about great ways of getting their information on their business card and so forth. Do confirm that that sign-in sheet is legible. You might also want to go back to that the Lunch and Learn coordinator, and sometimes they'll actually provide you with a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, so, just say that you need to make sure that you've got all their AIA numbers correctly. And she'll go ahead and just give you the whole list sometimes. The manufacturer takes care of submitting for their certificates, and within a couple of weeks, if you haven't heard from them yet, make sure that they're being processed, that they're on their way, and so forth. And follow up, follow up, follow up. How many times can we say that during one webinar? But it is extremely important that a salesperson get assigned to this account, that those certificates, whether they get, sometimes they'll get mailed in by a manufacturer, but if you can possibly walk them in and take those Krispy Kremes with you, you will definitely be remembered. And I think with that, I will kick it back over and give it to Garrett.
All right, thank you guys. We do have a couple of questions that have come through. The first one, I'm located in the Caribbean and don't have a manufacturer rep who's close at hand. Would you suggest a remote presenter from the manufacturer during the meeting?
Roy, can you take that one?
Yes. I don't, as far as the AI is concerned, I'm not sure that the AI credits are, how valuable they are in the Caribbean, because initially we were told they're very valuable in the United States as well as Canada. We turned out Canada wasn't so valuable after all. If they're credible there, we'd certainly entertain a remote presentation. However, you have to go back to and get another listing for that, so we'd have to consider that, I suppose. And depending on where he is in the Caribbean, I might be able to make a special trip, if you know what I mean, particularly at certain times of the year. But no, seriously on that, if you just send me an email, I'll check into it and see what we can do from there.
Great.
Yeah, and at least I'm sure will as well.
All right, next question. How many architects or designers should we set as a goal to attend these events?
Well, I like 100 myself. The problem is it's very hard to do that. The minimum really should be 5 because that makes it worthwhile. There's enough there for interaction. It's a very closed meeting, so a lot of good information can be conveyed without the rigors of, a bunch of people. Because when you have a presentation of a large group, there's a lot of people there for lunch and it's what they call sit and get, which means basically they just want to sit and get a certificate and leave. They don't really care about your product or anything like that. So small groups are not necessarily bad. I'd say on average, a group would be 9 to 11. It's a good size, depending on the circumstances, the size of the company, and all kind of other things. But if you've got a worthwhile target, 1 is enough, because if they've got something hot on their plate and you can help them out, then you're in. And I apologize for being so general, but there is not a specific answer, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them from all sizes, as Roy said, from just a handful of people in the room to 20-something. I've got one coming up next month. I've got, I think, 35 people registered. So it's going to be different in terms of how we interact with those people. But, again, you're in front of the right people. So it doesn't really make a difference.
All right. And one more here. How often should we try to hold a lunch and learn? Are there better times of the year to hold them based on CEU deadlines and requirements?
You want to take that, Lisa?
Sure. Basically, I like to strike while the iron is hot. If you have an opportunity, go for it. And once you get them going and get into that circle of people, you'll kind of get that ball rolling and have a better opportunity. It's kind of funny. It'll kind of do this ebb and tide thing. They'll be all hot on it, and then it'll kind of die down for a little bit. So you just kind of go with the flow. Oftentimes, it will be at the end of the year. I think that's maybe when a deadline is for a lot of them to get those CEUs in, and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done it. I need to squeeze in, X number. So that's when I put together a technology expo and offer them 6 in one day or something if I can possibly. But try and get those booked when you can. So I guess since we're sitting here in mid-September, this is a great time if you want to implement this program. Roy, where do you want to go this time of year? But do get things on the calendar. And I think
anybody on here from Hawaii?
Yeah, I drag them up to Cleveland all the time, But anyway, I think end of the year is probably a really hot time. But Roy and I were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, just in some general conversation. And there's been times at the beginning of the year where there's a peak of interest. So no particular time. How's that for
can you guys give examples of success stories from the events, what types of projects or jobs you've won because of the relationships you've built through Lunch and Learns?
Sure. Roy, do you want to start on that one, and I'll jump in?
Well, I don't have a lot of specifics in front of me. There's been almost everybody every greeter is asked a question, can you help me with this or help me with that? The ones that follow up are really the winners in this. We've had a couple of cases where school systems were about to be started, and jobs on that with a large military base on the West Coast that probably had 100 cameras in it. That was the last one I remember. And a lot of that was video analytics, by the way, which is far and above the price of a system with just the standard cameras. But I don't tend to get too much involved in it. Bear in mind, by the time I remember something happened, I'm on to many more classes. So maybe, Lisa, you might want to add something to that, and I'll stop mumbling.
Sure. I think the key here is maybe not so much the quantity, but the quality of some of the things that have been generated out of these Lunch and Learns. Because you're getting in with these specifiers, we get brought in on the ground floor of some very worthwhile projects. And often what's really exciting is that when you're on the, you're the architect's right-hand person, their go-to person, I have been up against no competition sometimes because, we're the one that they want. We're the one that they trust. So that is just absolutely invaluable. We got a huge corporate job as a product of a Lunch and Learn, and that began immediately, like at the close of the Lunch and Learns. We also got brought in on a church project that was immediate, and there was a community college project that we got brought into, and that would kind of develop both into AV and into security. But I think, again, most importantly, it's that relationship building that is so important, and it's the long-term benefits. So yeah, we got some terrific jobs right out of the gate. We got some that are a little bit down the pike, and then some that I know, these are the people that are going to turn to us when some of these great projects come up. The other thing is, even if someone doesn't have something, or maybe it's just not right now, we've kept them engaged. Now I've got them on my newsletters, and they're invited to my events. Some of the folks that Roy had introduced us to at that engineering firm, we turned around and they came to our technology expo. So, we got them in our door, and we got to show them everything else that we're made out of. So, again, really relationship building. We're on their radar. So I think that's the real success out of that. Do you have any more questions?
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Roy and Lisa, for the informative content. If there are no more questions, I'd like to remind everyone that a recording of the webinar and a copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be available in the Sales and Marketing Professionals Group Resource Library on esaweb.org. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for participating in today's webinar. We appreciate your time. We hope you found the content useful, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.